Don't get me wrong, I think depression can be spiritual, but just like physical illness, sometimes your depression and your mental illness, it requires you to see a doctor and get treatment, and there is no shame in doing so. Can I get a witness on a Sunday night? In fact, I want to be loud and clear as your pastor tonight. If you are in this room and you are struggling with depression, hear me loud and clear. It is not because you're not spiritual enough. So sick and tired of this lie. You're not spiritual enough. No, friends. Sickness is not weakness. Sickness is not because of sin. And sickness is not your identity. Come on, somebody. Go ahead and give a shout of praise and shame the devil while you're at it. It's okay to not be okay. It's just not okay to stay that way. We've got to fight back tonight. We've got to remove the stigma. We got to get healthy. Tonight, I got one mission, and I'm being serious, but I got one mission, and my one mission is to try to push people tonight that are struggling alone, to push you into community, that you would speak up and you would let somebody know, I'm not okay. I'm no psychologist, and I won't pretend to be one, but as you begin to study mental illness, there are many different reasons why it's occurring. Yet some things are occurring in our nation in 2018 because of lifestyle choices. And there's just no denying that. Truth of the matter is, as our society has improved, other things have declined. I see three basic things that are causing depression to rise, and even on the other side of that, suicide to rise. The first thing that we're struggling with in society is that we live in a comparison culture. It's just, we've never lived in a day like this before. I love social media, but social media is hurting some of you. I love social media. At one point, I used to call myself the Snapchat king. Nobody else called me this. I just called myself that. But social media, it's a tool. The question is, are you using the tool or is the tool using you? Because what's happening is that we live in a world today that we've never been more connected, but at the same time, we've never been more isolated. We live in a world today that we don't know how to engage with one another anymore. And the only way we know how to talk is with our thumbs. And what social media is doing is it's causing us to look at one another, and we're all of a sudden taking our lowest moments and we're comparing them to people's highlight reels. And comparison always kills your contentment. People have never been so dissatisfied, and people have never been so unfulfilled, and people have lost out on their contentment because they're living their life comparing where they're at with where somebody else is. I never knew how unhappy I was until I discovered how happy you were. It's pretty hard to be grateful for your job while you're sitting in your cubicle on a Monday and you're scrolling through Instagram and you see your girlfriend, she's laying out in her bathing suit in Tulum, and you go, oh my God, my life is awful. I should be in Tulum in my bathing suit. No, you should focus on your job, and in due season, God will provide you with a vacation. I see it happen not just on the surface levels, but even in good spaces. And many times I'll get a chance to go to different churches, and I'll get a chance to preach, and pastors will come up to me and they've got good intentions and their heart is pure, but they'll say things like this: Rich, man, we're seeing all that God is doing in Miami, and we're watching on Instagram all that God's doing at VOO Church, and it's absolutely amazing. And I just hope one day God could do something amazing here. I say, you know what, you're right. God is doing something amazing at VOO Church, but please believe Instagram is a lie. Because we're not broadcasting our failures, and we're not posting our challenges, and we're not uploading all of our weaknesses. No, we're only showing you the good stuff. And just because we're only showing you the good stuff doesn't mean there's not some bad stuff that we're walking through. And the only way you're gonna walk into amazing things is when you get your eyes off of the grass on the other side and you get focused where you are. You start getting focused where you are, and you start discovering, wow, where I'm at is pretty amazing. So we live in this comparison culture. And for many of us tonight, we don't even know it, but it's sucking the life out of us. It's not just a comparison culture, it's also that we're living in a fatherless generation. We've now seen 2 generations pass where 50% of the marriages are breaking up and divorce is rampant, and it's causing young boys and young girls to grow up in homes without a dad. Even in some homes where a dad is present, he is not engaged. And what we discover throughout the scriptures is that the father's role is to help shape the identity of their children. Hebrews talks all about this, that a father disciplines his children that he loves and he helps shape them. A father's role is twofold. It's to affirm and it's to correct. It's to encourage, but it's also to discipline. And in 2018, people are having a major identity crisis. We've never been louder about identity, and at the same time, we've never been more confused about our identity. Would you believe that 63% of all youth suicides, they come from a fatherless home? 90% of all youth runaways, a fatherless home. 70% of the men in the prison system in America come from a fatherless home. I am so thankful for a God tonight that if we are in Christ Jesus, he declares, I am a father to the fatherless, and I will walk with you. And whatever you're missing on earth, your heavenly Father, he can fill in the gaps. This is why we need a community, because we need some men in this room to rise up and say, I'll be a dad to you. I might only be 5 more years older than you, but I'll be a spiritual dad. I'll be a foster father for you. I'll help shape who you are. You're a child of God. It's not just a comparison culture. It's not just a fatherless generation. It's that we live in a narcissistic nation. You want to know who God is in America? It's self. We are the selfie generation. Not enough room in the frame for anyone other than me. Because what's happened to us is that we're so self-absorbed. We've taken the focus off of other people, and we're definitely not looking out. We're definitely not looking up, and therefore all we do is look in. And our selfishness gives way to a sabotaging of the enemy that he literally begins to put in toxic thinking into our life. I mean, this is a narcissistic nation. And listen, my style is not one to sit up on a stage and like correct culture. Like, it's just not who I am. And it's not our church, by the way, either, if you're a guest. Our church, we love our city. Our church invades our city. Our church invades culture. We would rather change culture from within it rather than sitting on the side going, you guys are all messed up. But we must know why it is that we're facing certain things. And you just look around our culture, it's narcissistic. Politics, it's self-absorbed. The arts are self-absorbed. Entertainment, self-absorbed. When was the last time you went on to Apple Music and looked at the top 10 songs in America? Every song is all about me, 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 me. I'm the man, I'm the best. Yo, I'm on top of you, I'm better than you, I'm the man. That's the whole thing. One of the number 1 songs in 2018 came from an artist named Lil Pump. I'm not that old. Song's called Drug Addicts. My whole crew's drug addicts. Like, I know I'm getting older, but when did it become cool to be a drug addict? Let me preach to you for a minute. It's not cool to be a drug addict. How do I know? Ask a drug addict. My whole crew's drug addicts. What? We've got multiple artists in our generation singing about putting melodies, putting beats to the idea of suicide, dreaming about suicide, fantasizing about suicide, plotting suicide, singing about suicide. It's no wonder that we see suicide on the rise. And the thing with suicide is that it's so deceiving and it's spreading like wildfire. It's not just my assumption, it's a fact. Suicide is contagious. In fact, it's called the Werther effect. You can go back and you can check it out, but in 1774, this man by the name of Goethe, he came out with a book And the book was called The Sorrows of Young Werther. And the story is about a man who's in love with this girl, but the girl doesn't love him back. So he takes a pistol and he puts it to his temple and he shoots himself and he dies. And as the book was released, people started to read the story and other men started to copycat suicide what Werther did. So much so that they had to ban the book so people would stop repeating the behavior. Research shows us that when public suicides occur, that suicide rate increases. When Marilyn Monroe took her life, at that time, the suicide rate went up by 12%. I lived in Tacoma, Washington, not far from Seattle. I was a Nirvana fan, although my parents did not know. And I remember Kurt Cobain taking his life. And I remember the ripple effects in that town as other young people said, all right, I need to end my sadness the same way. And I came tonight to challenge some people, and I came tonight to plead with some people. There are better ways to kill your sadness. Let me tell you what suicide is. Suicide is a permanent solution to a temporary problem. There are better ways. Suicide, you know what it's like? It's like taking a bomb to a wasp nest. It leaves an irreversible mark and it's not necessary. It does irreversible work and it doesn't just affect the thing that it kills, but rather the people around it, they are destroyed also. And I'm just begging you tonight, I wanna say this as loud as I possibly can. You don't have to die to end your pain. You have more to live for. The one thing I know about emotions is that they change. 1 hour from right now, you will not feel the same way. And I wanna encourage you tonight that you might be in your darkest moment. You might be going through hell and high water, but I wanna prophesy over your life. It is always too soon to quit. You have a reason to live. God declares your best days are in front of you. We love you. You don't have to do this.